And we're live on the Bullpen Podcast. This is our final podcast of the 2021 season, as it were. We're obviously still going to be coming to you, but the World Series is over. The Atlanta Braves are 2021 World Series champions. Oh, how far they've come. What a celebration for Atlanta, for the state of Georgia. I know a lot of the folks on Twitter are very excited. I've seen a lot of people in shock, and just utter enjoyment of the Braves World Series, and good for them. I obviously am not stoked about another National League East team other than the Mets winning a World Series. We've seen almost all of them win a World Series since the Mets last won one, so that's fun. But that's okay. Onward and upward. Atlanta Braves, your 2021 World Series champion. I am your host, Chris Krogman. You can find me on Twitter at ShyBears1985. I am joined by my awesome co-host, Adam Kunos. You can find him on Twitter at Kunos19. Follow the podcast at the Bullpen Pod, THEE. And we're sponsored by Fanatics. Head on over there to get all of your Atlanta Braves World Series championship gear. How awesome for them. Fourth World Series title in franchise history. One is the Boston Braves. One is the Milwaukee Braves, and the second title as the Atlanta Braves. 1995 was their last one. So it's been a good bit of time. Mr. Kunos, what do you think about all this, and how are you tonight?
I am doing good. I mean, talk about fantastic series from start to finish. I mean, the Braves just, and we mentioned this, they got hot at the right time. They clicked at the right time, and the end results have paid off. They have the Commissioner's Trophy on a Delta flight back to Atlanta. They tweeted out a picture of it safely tucked in first class, I believe. The only MLB team to have won a championship in all the cities they have played in. They're the only team to win a championship in 3 different cities. Not even the Athletics can do that. What do you got? What do you got?
How many teams, let's talk about how many teams have moved. I mean, this has got to be a pretty select few. It's got to be less than 8.
Select few. I believe it's only 2 teams.
Two fucking teams? And we're talking about how they're the only ones to ever do this? Man, not even the Oakland A's can say that. Wow.
Not even Oakland can say that.
Well, I mean, the Boston Braves were around in the 1800s, so I would hope that the Braves of whatever city they reside in could win a championship. I won't make fun of that statement anymore. Go ahead. Continue with the awesome celebration of this version of the Braves.
I mean, like you said, you saw the post. You saw that they packed Truist Field last night to watch the game, and as soon as they clinched, people in the field and the stands started going crazy. The 3-run bomb that cleared the train tracks that went outside of Minute Maid Park. I mean, as soon as that went off, the crowd in Atlanta just pretty much lost its goddamn minds. I have a couple of friends that live in Atlanta. I know they're going crazy right now, but damn, they just lost their goddamn minds after the series was over.
I saw a tweet from, I think, a former opponent in the minor leagues of Jorge Soler, who just murders baseballs, and his swag after he hits a home run is fantastic. But his opponent said he hit one so far off of me in a game, he came up to me the next day and apologized, and I was like, that's awesome. Hey man, sorry I hit the ball so far against you, but that's a pretty funny story. Soler winning your 2021 World Series MVP, in case you hadn't heard it. You heard it here first, which if you're listening to this podcast and you didn't know that, I thank you for listening.
Thank you indeed. Thank you indeed.
Either way, we'll update you on everything, because if you didn't know that he won the MVP, then you probably weren't watching the games. But that's okay. He had a great stat line, and we'll get into that. What did you think of this series as a whole, Adam? like even the games that Houston won, I don't know, man. It just never felt like Houston was ever in this series.
No, I look at I believe it was game 2 where Atlanta just made a couple of bad throwing errors, and had they not made those throwing errors, had they not made some bad fielding decisions, they could have easily won this game in five games. Or could we even talk about a sweep? Who knows? But it never felt like Houston was truly in it to begin with, and that's not a discredit to Houston as a franchise. I mean, they're a good franchise to get to the World Series 3 out of the last 5 years. But it just never felt like they were in it. They felt like Atlanta always had one step on them the entire series. They always had a little better pitching. Their offense was clicking at the right time. They stole home field advantage from Houston in game 1, which kind of progressed the series more towards Atlanta's favor when you steal that first game on the road. I just don't know. I mean, did we overlook Atlanta during the regular season? Possibly. I mean, we said that there's no way Atlanta can make up ground in the NL East, even though about how bad that division was this year. But I mean,
last 2 World Series champions. Just a reminder.
Okay, last 2, yeah.
Terrible division. Awful.
Terrible division. Last 2 World Championships coming out, 2 or 3 coming from that division. Yeah, I mean, Atlanta, they've been building this for the last couple of years. There are 4 straight NL East titles, 2 NL championship runs, and then finally getting over that hump of beating the Dodgers and getting past a good Houston team.
Yeah, Houston just did not hit well at all. Like nobody hit well. Michael Brantley was the only one who hit over 300. Well, Amadeus Diaz did, but that was only in 3 at bats. So that doesn't really count. Everybody else, like Altuve, only hit 220. Jordan Alvarez only hit 100. Bregman at .095. Good God, just terrible. Carlos Correa 261. Gurriel, who led the league in batting this year, only hit 273 during the series. Martin Maldonado 235. I mean, these numbers just aren't going to get it done. When you're not hitting the ball, you're not getting on base. You're just not going to be able to produce. Kyle Tucker had 286, but geez, I mean, that's just terrible. On the other side with Atlanta, everybody hit over 250. It seems like.
Yeah, and I think when you look at shutting down Altuve, Carrera, those 2 big bats for the entire series. I mean, granted, Altuve did have a couple long balls during the series, but he wasn't as effective as Houston would like to see him. And Houston's pitching, I mean, they had a pretty good staff throughout the season, but you have to wonder, had Justin Verlander been in that rotation, could it have been a different series? I mean, did missing Justin Verlander make that difference?
Their pitching staff wasn't great. I mean, obviously, Framber Valdez had that terrible game 1, getting absolutely rocked. Greinke pitched pretty well. 4 innings pitch, gave up 4 hits, struck out 3, had a decent game. Your Queedy had a great game, 7 strikeouts, but everybody else didn't show up to pitch. They all got shelled. Javier with a 12 ERA, Luis Garcia with a 5.68 ERA. He lost 2 games. Yeah, just not great.
I mean, like every team that gets bounced after the postseason, they'll take a couple of days to kind of look back and see obviously what went right, what went wrong, what needs to be addressed. And for Houston, like we said a couple of podcasts ago, they have a lot of contract questions coming up. They have a lot of players who are coming up at the end of their contracts, have that option to opt out. They have a couple big decisions to make. Like, will they keep some of these key players who help them get to this plateau they've had over the last 5 years? So they have a lot of questions that they have to answer before free agency begins.
Yeah, Correa is your biggest problem. I mean, if you don't sign Correa to some sort of fairly big contract, you're gonna be in trouble. His asking prices, he probably wants over 300 like Lindor got and Tatis got, but I don't see that happening. He's probably gonna get 250 to 275. If Houston's smart, they'll go after that immediately. I think they can do that as early as today, which is just odd. But baseball never sleeps.
No, I mean, you don't see the coverage like you do some of the other sports, but yeah, baseball, like other sports, has become a year-round operation.
Mm-hmm.
There's truly no. You have your off season, but it's not a true off season.
Right. Well, let's break down this World Series game by game. Adam, game 1, Atlanta won 6-2. Winning pitcher was Minter, 1-0, 2.2 innings pitched, 2 2/3, 3 hits, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. Framber Valdez, like we said, 2 innings pitched, 8 hits, 5 earned runs, 1 walk, 2 strikeouts, and gave up 2 home runs. Braves scored quick, 5 runs in the first 3 innings. Charlie Morton got pegged. Was that in this series or was that in the NLCS?
No, that was in game. I believe it was in game 1 of the World Series because his stat line for game 1, he had 2 1/3 innings pitched, 1 hit, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, and that's when he took the liner off his ankle. His second inning went back out to try to make it through another inning, but got pulled after I believe 1 or 2 batters. So
right, that's right.
And we all thought at the time that was going to be a huge loss for Atlanta. How would Atlanta rebound from losing nearly their ace for the series?
Max Fried said, "Hold my beer."
Exactly. And Max Fried delivered.
Definitely. Houston struck out 13 times, left 17 batters on base, or runners on base. Like we mentioned, they didn't hit hardly at all in this series. Took some walks, but struck out a lot in this game. Game 2, what did we see, Adam?
Game 2 was a little more of the same, but obviously Houston kind of flipped the script on this one. Houston comes out. They do the early scoring. 1 run in the first, 2 in the 4 in the second. And then they just kind of held it there together. They put together 2 more runs in the later innings to kind of pad the lead. You get Uruguay with the win, 5 innings pitched, 6 hits, 2 earned runs, 7 strikeouts, gives up a solo home run. Max Fried gives up 7 hits, 6 runs, all of them earned, and 6 strikeouts, walks 1. Houston had one of those games where they just hit. They had one of those games where the offense actually showed up. I mean, granted, they went 3 for 12 with runners in scoring position, but the 3 hits that they did connect on counted. Atlanta went 1 for 5 with runners in scoring position. So if you look at a stat line, it's a 2-hit difference in the game. If you take away those 2 hits that Houston has for runs, it's a completely different game.
Isn't that most baseball games?
Pretty much. If you can erase one game. But like I said, Atlanta had 2 errors in that game, and that came in one inning, in the second inning where they gave up two errors, and that kind of snowballed Houston scoring 4.
Yeah, that throw to third was ridiculous. I think 2 runs scored on that after one had already scored. I think they scored 3 runs on one play.
Yeah.
And maybe it might have only been 2, but still, it was a bad throw. Nobody to cover. People just kept running. You never like to see that if you're the Braves, but yeah, they came back in game 3, held it together, 1-2-0. Anderson with 5 innings pitched got the win, 0 hits, 0 runs, 3 walks, 4 Ks. Garcia, he, like we said, his ERA was in the 5s, but it wasn't really a horrible game. 3.2 or 3 2/3 innings pitched, 1 earned run, 4 walks though in just 3 2/3 and 6 strikeouts. Smith got the save for Atlanta. Travis d'Arnaud, who hit very well in the World Series, went 2 for 4 with a homer and a double. Astros just couldn't hit again. 2 for 28. Good God. Only 3 walks, 7 Ks, and left 11 on base. I'm surprised they even got 11 on.
Yeah.
Wait a minute. How's that possible? 2 for 28 and 3 walks is only 6 runners. How'd they get 11 base runners? Math.
Math. I failed math. Let's be real. So I got what's considered a passing grade. So we'll just leave it at that. Yeah, but if you look at Houston's box score, they have a ton of pinch hitters. I mean, they brought in, if I'm counting this correctly, 7 pinch hitters, obviously for the pitching, but pinch runners, pinch hitters, but they taxed their lineup incredibly hard that game.
Maybe they got hit by the pitch a lot. We don't know. Can't remember.
No, I wouldn't be surprised if they did, but
maybe it was only 5 left on base, but maybe not. We don't know. We can't. They didn't score at all, so we know they left all of the base runners they had. They left them on there.
Pretty much.
No matter how many or few it was. Again, just not being able to hit.
And for a team that you looked at that is known for having this pop, having this offense, they were awfully quiet for this series. And game 3 was I think, not the tilting game, but a game that showed that this offense maybe isn't as good as we thought it is.
Yeah, I don't know, man. You had 3 guys with over 30 home runs in the regular season, another one at 26. A few 300 hitters, although that doesn't seem to even be baseball anymore. Nobody hits 300 anymore, it seems like. Gurriel, like he's your batting champion at 319. Tony Gwynn would be sad for you at those numbers when he's rocking like a 394. That's like his lifetime career average is 318 or 319 or whatever. So that's disappointing. But I think this Houston offense was as good as we thought it was. It just didn't show up when they needed it to.
Yeah, and that goes, and like I said, that's baseball for you. You have these good runs where your offense is clicking, your pitching is clicking, everything seems to be going right. Then all of a sudden, you just have this stretch where the offense doesn't show up. You have pitchers to go 2 or 3 innings only. Your bullpen gets taxed incredibly through a certain amount of stretches. No one seems to be hitting everything. Bats have holes in them. Ground balls with eyes go the other way. So, I mean, however you want to look at it, whatever your superstition is, it just didn't work.
Yeah, isn't that interesting? Like baseball, I remember playing growing up. It's like a feeling, when one guy gets a hit, or like if you're down in a game, one guy gets a hit, another guy gets a hit. It's like everybody just steps up to a level of they don't want to let the team down, and somehow produces like just that much more and that much better talent. And it's just amazing how human beings can perform like that, and why, like, how do we tap into that on a more regular basis to, intensify our competitive level? Like, I just feel like, everybody on Houston was just clicking, or I'm sorry, on Atlanta was just clicking. And like Jorge Soler he's a monster bomber, but him hitting 300 for the series is not his. He hits 200 on a regular basis. So for him to like hit that much more consistently, I feel like everybody was just on it and feeding off of each other. I mean, is really what it comes down to.
Yeah, I mean, I think you said it correctly. If you get that one guy who just starts hitting, everyone starts hitting, whether it's everyone uses the same bat, no one changes their socks for a game, everyone wears one batting glove, you put pine tar on your hat or helmet, you put bubble gum on top of your helmet. I mean, again, superstitious is a baseball trait. Rallies
are fun.
Yes, they are.
Atlanta didn't really need any, though. They pretty much led the entire series in the games they won, obviously. Game 4, Atlanta won 3-2. Matzik with the win, 1 inning pitch, 1 hit, and he came out of the bullpen. That kid can huck it. Saw him in the Dodgers series, just absolutely shut them down. Javier with the loss, only a third of an inning pitched, 2 hits, 2 runs, 2 earned. 2 homers, got a blown save as well. Smith with another save for Atlanta on 1 inning pitch and 1 strikeout. Dansby Swanson and Soler both hit smashing home runs. What is it, like the first time a 8-9 hitter or 7-8 hitter went back to back in the World Series or back to back in the playoffs? I can't remember what the unique stat was there, but it was pretty special to see those two hit home runs back to back. Altuve with the solo home run in the 4th for Houston, but that was half of their scoring. And even though Atlanta only scored 3, it was that was the best game by far.
Yeah, and I think that was a more competitive game, and it didn't look good for Atlanta with their starting pitcher Lee, who is normally a bullpen guy, going out, only lasting a third of an inning, giving up an earned run, 1 strikeout, 2 walks, and that seemed like a tell that maybe this game wasn't going to be in Atlanta's favor. Maybe this Houston seemed to be jumping, taking their pitches. They did their scouting report pretty damn well in this kid. They were patient at the plate, and it showed. When you're patient, it pays off. But then you bring Wright out of the bullpen, who kind of just locks it down, and you go Martin, Mazdak, Jackson, and then obviously Smith, who comes in and gets that second save. Timely hitting. I mean, timely hitting. You time everything in baseball.
For sure. Game 5, Houston came back and won. So that puts them back so Atlanta was winning the series 3-1 after game 4. Game 5, Houston wins and brings it to 3-2. Score was 9-5. Urquidy pitched pretty well. Out of the bullpen, one inning pitched, 1 hit. Minter with the loss for Atlanta, 1 inning pitched. 3 earned runs, 2 walks, 2 Ks, got a blown save. Astros had 3 extra base hits and went 12 for 38. Scoring 9 runs was pretty much as they'd scored in the whole series up until that point. No, too short. They had scored 11 runs in the first 4 games, and scored 9 runs in the fifth game. So that offense finally did show up. But yeah, 3-2 going into game 6.
Yeah, and it looked good for Atlanta. They jumped out to a 4-0 lead after 1. Houston scores 2, then they score 2 again. Atlanta goes up 5-4, and then Atlanta just falls asleep, and you have Houston who just kind of goes on the brakes and starts putting runs on the board, and Atlanta couldn't get a run across the plate after the 3rd inning, so they're flat the rest of the game. And I say it's disappointing because you always want to clinch in front of your home crowd. I mean, clinching any series is awesome. You always want to try to clinch it on your home field, just so you can celebrate with the fans and have that raise the trophy in front of your home fans. But Atlanta still held the 3-2 series lead, so they still had that going for them after this game at least.
That's right. So on the road, game 6, big win, 7-0. Max Fried with 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 6 strikeouts. Obviously, no runs given up. Garcia with the 2.2 2 2/3, 2 hits, 3 runs, 3 earned, a walk, 3 strikeouts, and a home run given up. Jorge Soler again with a 3-run smash shot. Dansby Swanson again with a 2-run shot, and Freeman with his solo home run. Sealed the deal. Atlanta cruises to a 4-2 series win, and the celebration began.
Yeah,
in Houston.
In Houston, 3 teams have celebrated on Houston turf: the Sox, the Nationals, and now the Braves. All have celebrated a series title at Minute Park.
Trash Stros.
I mean, you saw the celebration after Swanson thought about going to second. He goes right to first with the final out, and then you see the dugout pour out, celebration, mobbing on the mound. And congrats to the Atlanta Braves. They had a hell of a season, and they capped it off with a World Series title.
Yeah,
I mean,
last team in, first team to win, or last team in, last team on the field.
yeah. So yeah, they're the last team to clinch in the National League, and they're the last one standing after everything is said and done. Yeah, looking again at this box score, Houston 10 strikeouts in this game. Damn, I mean, you talk about not having anything at the plate. You strike out 10 times as a team, you know something's not right.
Yeah, they were off. That's a fact for the entire series. They just never. I don't know, man. I feel like we were talking about this, in the ALCS as well, and they just couldn't really get it going. But it just, I don't know. Houston's never felt like dominant to me. Not that Atlanta like was crushing people, but it never felt like the series was out of hand for Atlanta.
No, you kind of felt that Atlanta had the series pretty much in their hands from the first pitch of game one. It kind of felt like they had control of it. They were going to be the better team, and it showed. They outplayed the Astros pretty much from first pitch to last pitch. I mean, they had 2 bad games, they had a couple bad innings, but they never lost their composure. They pretty much stuck to the same plan they had going from game one. Obviously, you had to change up a little pitching strategy with losing your ace, but they seem to have an answer for everything, and that goes a long way. And I mean, who knows? Maybe this team is built for something that we haven't seen. Maybe what they did during the trade deadline this year kind of sets them up for a run.
No.
That's the Mets fan talking right there.
Yeah, and I don't know. Something just felt I don't know. You call it what you want. If you're a Braves fan, it's probably special. If you're anybody else, it's like a miracle season for the Braves. But like I said, man, you got to tip your hat. Respect that team. Freddie Freeman's impossible not to like. He's a lot of fun. Kind of surprised he didn't win the MVP, but Jorge Soler, definitely deserving. He had a 300 batting average, 3 home runs and 6 RBIs during the series. To compare, Freddie Freeman was at 318 with 5 home runs and 6 RBIs or 5 RBIs. So they both had very good playoffs, very good World Series. I think Soler had a couple other extra base hits in there, so he's well deserving of the World Series MVP. So congrats to him. Congrats to Atlanta. And that closes out the 2021 season.
It does, and you talk about a hell of a season that this year was. I mean, obviously coming back from a 60-game season where we saw things that we normally wouldn't see in the baseball season, no fans in the stands, playoffs being played at neutral sites, pretty much games back to back to back. You saw the season open up with limited fans. You saw reopening days halfway through the season. And it was a good sight to see. It was a good sight to see packed stadiums throughout in the summertime going into August. And it was fun. I mean, it was definitely a fun season all around.
It definitely was. And, it's what's interesting is like I was thinking about, and I tweeted this out today about how it just seems like the NFL and NBA are getting hammered with COVID. And the NHL, has their star players that are getting it as well. Baseball didn't seem to really get crushed by COVID this year. And I don't know if that's, vaccination rates. I don't speak to that as far as, what people want to do with their lives or what, professional baseball players do, or if that's, they kept their distance or wore masks or whatever they did. They play outside, obviously. But these guys are indoors with each other and they're out in the world. So pretty impressive that COVID didn't absolutely destroy baseball like it is starting to with football and basketball. I mean, basketball is just getting going, and we're already seeing a lot of people be out with COVID.
Yeah, and same with the NFL. I mean, you've seen teams that are dealing with their own COVID issues. And again, I'm not going to speak on vaccination. I mean, you do what you need to do to stay safe out there. I will say, and Chris, you can argue with this, probably one of the best moments from this past season is when you saw the Toronto Blue Jays return home to the Sky Dome to play in front of their home fans for the first time, I believe, in 18 months. You're talking 2019. Before this year was the last time they played in front of a home stadium in Toronto. Seeing them get back to Toronto and play in that stadium was probably one of the greatest sights to see this year.
Yeah, that definitely was an excellent moment of the year and probably what sparked Toronto's late season push for the playoffs. Yeah, it was good for them. Definitely a moment for Toronto and for the Blue Jays to return home. What else do we have going on in the world of baseball? I mean, other than the World Series, no big deal.
Yeah. Well, we have some possible retirement news coming out. It was announced today by multiple sources online that Buster Posey will be announcing his retirement tomorrow after 12 years playing for the San Francisco Giants. Career stats line. I mean, you look at stats: 304 batting average, OPS of 390, slugging 499. Oh, sorry, that's his 21. 372 on base percentage, 460 slugging, 831 OPS, 302 lifetime average, 3-time world champion, 7-time All-Star, 2012 NL MVP, 2010 Rookie of the Year. He's a Gold Glove winner, 4-time Silver Slugger, NL Comeback Player of the Year 2012, and also the Hank Aaron Award recipient as well. I mean, you call that? I'd be happy with just a fraction of those stat lines.
For my catcher, yeah, absolutely. 7-time All-Star is fantastic. To win an MVP from behind the plate is something else. Obviously, winning a Gold Glove is fantastic. It seems like that happens like with catchers. There's usually only you're either an offensive catcher or a defensive catcher. Rarely is there both. And usually there's one guy in the league that's just absolutely ridiculous behind the plate, and he wins the Gold Glove every year. So for Posey to take one, plus be a Silver Slugger 4 times over, get hurt, come back, win the Comeback Player of the Year, and be, return to form was fantastic to see from Buster.
Yeah, especially you talk about the injury, that horrific leg injury that kind of led to some rule changes behind the plate for how you block a plate and how you're seeing less collisions at home plate now. I mean, you still see the occasional collision, but the rule now is if the catcher doesn't have the ball, they have to give way to the runner. If I remember correctly, but I mean, I tip my head. He had a hell of a career with San Francisco. I mean, stat line alone, does this put him in the Hall of Fame or not?
1,500 hits, 150 RBI, or 150 home runs, 1,500 hits. His 302 batting average, and some of his advanced stats are pretty comparable to guys that are currently in the Hall of Fame. I'm not sure if it puts him in on the first ballot, but kind of after reviewing it and looking at it, we talked about this like a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and I didn't think he would be, but kind of after doing a little bit of a deeper dive and looking at some of the other guys around baseball who after he announced his retirement posted some facts about Buster Posey. I think he's definitely a Hall of Famer. Whether or not he gets in on the first one is yet to be seen.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard at any time to get on the first ballot, especially when you saw like players like Jeter and Griffey, Riviera get sweeping first ballot votes. I mean, he'll definitely get some votes on that first ballot, but I don't think it'll be enough. I could see him. I think we talked about this in the pre-show. Second, third time around.
Definitely second or third time around. I think he's in.
So we'll look for that official retirement announcement tomorrow. And now the Giants have a question of who they can put behind the plate.
Did they have that kid in AAA, right? That
I believe,
they were talking about trading, but didn't. Like I think like Chris Bryant. People thought he was going to get dealt for Chris Bryant. I can't remember his name, but that kid is supposed to be fire, and I can't. God, I'll find it.
Yeah. So, I mean, he definitely leaves as a Giants legend. I mean, obviously part of those 3 World Series championships in the early 2010s. It's definitely something that I know Giants fans will definitely remember about him. I could see his number being retired by San Francisco in the next couple of years, being put up in that honor and probably a Giants Hall of Fame. And then obviously the step he'll want to take is going into Cooperstown.
Definitely. Joey Bart is the AAA catcher for San Francisco. He's 24 years old.
Yeah, I could see him starting Bart next year I could see him behind the plate next year, start the season. Now the question is, will they bring in a veteran to back him up, or will they go someone in the minors? I could see them bringing in a veteran catcher who maybe on a 1-year deal just to kind of back him up, mentor him.
Yeah, you're gonna want that guy. You know, pitchers are odd ducks, so they're probably going to be at least one person on that staff that wants their own catcher or wants a defensively oriented veteran catcher that's been in the league for a while. But we'll see what San Francisco does as far as their movements go. The offseason has more or less already started. We had a first trade of the day, another Gold Glove catcher, Tucker Barnhart, moving from the Reds to the Tigers. Excellent defensive catcher, hits well against righties. Kind of shocked that we're already seeing offseason moves, but like we said, baseball never sleeps.
Yeah, especially move this quickly after the World Series. And we talked about this, that the Reds are looking to align talent more within their financial situation, if I remember talking about that correctly, which if you read in between the lines, that could lead to a fire sale. So
Castellanos probably won't be back. Could see Castillo get dealt. Could see
you could see Joey Votto, longtime Red, get dealt.
Sure.
Fire sales, everything's on the table. No one's safe.
So we saw what Washington did this year. Talking about a fire sale.
Yeah, and you've seen the Marlins do fire sales after 2 World Series championships. You saw the Cubs kind of do a fire sale this year. The Nationals did a fire sale. Minnesota kind of did a half a fire sale. Not really, but they got rid of some key players. So I mean, it's a time that we're living in. Teams are looking at financials and they're looking to see like how can they still be profitable as a team while putting a good product on the field. So tough decisions are going to be made, and whether you're a fan of the team that does this and you agree or disagree with them, every team has to go through this. Every team goes through this process of tearing down what they have, building it back up, and be patient. It takes time to put a winner on the field. You can't just redo this overnight. It takes some time to put these pieces together and put that championship caliber team on that field.
Yeah, it seems like it's finding the right pieces. It's putting those people together and making magic happen. The Reds don't have a whole lot of free agents going into 2022. Most of their guys are still on contract until 2023, but that also makes them more attractive for trading. We'll see if guys like Jesse Winkler get dealt. Like I said, Luis Castillo, Joey Votto would be hard to trade. He's on a 10-year, $225 million deal until 2025. Nick Castellanos, he's on a pretty friendly deal, honestly, until 2025. But I think he could get dealt for sure.
Yeah, and I think if you look at Joey Votto, I mean, if the Reds do deal him, I would say, like, since the American League, he can be a good DH over net for any team over the American League. With that, but he still has some pop behind his bat. His fielding's still pretty good, but I could see him more becoming a DH in the later year of his career.
Yeah, a little Nelson Cruz action.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, Joey Pop. All right, Adam, what else do you want to talk about?
That is pretty much it. I mean, we're just like hours after the series is over, so news is going to be coming out. For us here at the Bullpen Podcast, our podcast schedule is going to change a little. We'll still be coming out with episodes, but not as frequently. Because, I mean, start of the baseball offseason is a little slow. Then you got the winter meetings coming up in December. You got the Hot Stove on MLB Network. So there's still plenty of baseball news coming around, but we will still bring you content, not every week, but about every other week or so during the winter.
Definitely. We'll have our season wrap in a couple weeks, talk about season awards, MVP, Rookie of the Year, Cy Young, things like that, Coach of the Year. And then we will start talking off season and start looking forward to next year. And obviously, this is the last year of the CBA for baseball, so that's going to be a big deal at the winter meetings. And we'll have lots of coverage for you coming up later. But for now, we are going to move to an every other week schedule and keep you guys posted on Twitter and Facebook on if we are not going to be recording that week.
Absolutely. I mean, to all of our listeners out there, we thank you from the start of this podcast back in late July, early August. We look forward to coming back at the beginning of next season and doing some spring training talk and doing a full season of the Bullpen Podcast from start to finish.
And we'll have predictions. Then we can really have some fun. We should have made some mid-season predictions. I think we did, but we were way off.
Oh God, I made some predictions at the beginning of the year, and I have to go back and find these. If I can find these, I'll put them out on our page and be like, maybe he doesn't know what he's talking about.
I put a bet on. I mean, obviously, I bet on them. Not obviously, but I bet on the Mets to win the NL East and to win the World Series. Small amount to win the World Series, but $20 to win the East, and I should have just cashed out when they were ahead because it was not looking good. So all's well that ends with not many losses, so that's fine. Congrats again to the Atlanta Braves. Thank you everyone who takes time out of their day to listen to Adam and I talk about hardball, and we really do appreciate you taking the time to listen to us, comment, like, subscribe. Do whatever, find us wherever you find us on your podcast networks, and we will see you soon.
Absolutely. You guys take care out there.
Take care.